I'm very sorry, but we cannot afford to pay what we owe right now. My husband has gone missing, and I'm still trying to find him.
No, you misunderstand us. We are here to help with the investigation. We'd like to ask you some questions about Mr. Nagato's disappearance, if we may.
Ah, I see. I thought the debt collectors had come to visit again. I'm sorry you have to see me in this dreadful state. Has some new information come out? Do you know where he's gone?
I'm afraid we don't have any new information at the moment. We're still trying to find out as much as we can to inform our search. With this in mind, can we perhaps ask some questions about your family's current situation?
For example, Paimon's struggling to understand why a collector would be strapped for Mora.
That's a long story. Ever since I've known him, he's been an avid collector of all sorts of things. He'd always get so animated when he was showing them to me. I knew nothing about the items myself, but seeing how enthusiastic and excited they made him, I was happy to believe that they were just extremely important to him. Everything was fine when we first got married, but as time went by, things changed for the worse.
Uh-oh, what happened?
He lost his sense of restraint. He started buying more and more things, and even resorted to borrowing money just so he could pay for them. Our expenses really spiraled out of control when he started getting interested in weapons. It was awful. There were days when he'd spend hours down at the warehouse, admiring his weapons even as debt collectors were descending upon our house. He wouldn't sell them, wouldn't even touch them. Just sat there staring at them like he was in a trance. I'm happy he has a hobby, and I'm willing to support him, but making ends meet has to come first. I've tried talking to him about it so many times, but he never listens. On the last day that I saw him, I gave him an ultimatum. I said, if he refused to sell his collectibles and pay off his debts, I would divorce him and take the children with me.
Whoa!
And that led to an argument.
Actually, it didn't. Generally, he's a quiet man who likes to go with the flow. On most things, he leaves the decision-making to me. You must understand, I never would have dreamed of threatening him with divorce if the debts hadn't pushed our family to the brink. After I said those words, he froze and was silent for a long time. When he finally... His voice was so meek and pitiful that I felt an urge to take everything back. But then what? If I didn't draw the line, what would happen to our family? Had I not indulged his bad habits, we wouldn't have found ourselves in such a predicament. And I also don't know if he had actually come to his senses, or if he was simply angry with me. The next thing I heard was that our warehouse had caught fire, and both he and the buyer had gone missing.
I see. I understand. Ame no Mayuya came to purchase a weapon from Mr. Nagato. During the sale, a fire broke out at the warehouse, and both men disappeared.
At first, I assumed they must have gotten into an argument over the price. But my husband has never been one to negotiate. He never even haggles when he's out buying groceries, so it's hard to imagine him getting into a fierce argument.
Maybe he was feeling the pressure from the debts?
I don't know. He just disappeared after the warehouse burned down. Perhaps he's too afraid to come home now that all his collectibles have been lost in the fire, and he's got no way to pay off our debts. Even though I'm still a little mad at him, we're a family, and I want us to face our family's crisis together. As long as he's willing to turn over a new leaf, I know we can work things out.
Please don't get upset. There could be more to this situation than meets the eye. If collecting things is a habit that Mr. Nagato had his whole life, it is quite unusual for this habit to change so drastically over a short period. But the information we gathered from the other side suggests Amenoma Yuya is also a mild-mannered man who would not be likely to start an argument. This situation is getting a little confusing.
A little confusing? More like completely mystifying.
Let's try a change of scenery and see if we can piece together what we've learned. Rest assured, we'll notify you if we find anything.
Thank you so much. I just want him to come home.
Based on the information we've gathered so far, I can only surmise that the sales meeting between the two men was somehow the catalyst for their disappearance. The fire at the warehouse likely played a part in how the situation unfolded, though its exact role is a mystery. Do you have any thoughts?
Well, Paima was thinking that maybe someone accidentally knocked over an oil lamp and, nope, never mind. Paimon's brain needs to rest for a while. Over to you.
That is the most likely conclusion based on everything we know. What started as a disagreement over the price escalated and ultimately turned into a... However, in this case, only one of the parties would have started the fire. That would make the other party innocent, and they would have no reason to hide themselves from the public. If this is indeed what happened, and the innocent man hasn't come forward yet, then it suggests they may have already lost their life. One fact that I keep coming back to is that Amenoma Yuya is polite and well-mannered, while Mr. Nagato is introverted and passive. Neither seems like the type of person who is inclined towards initiating conflict. Mr. Nagato, being heavily in debt, is also the only one of them with the potential motive to disappear after the fire. The more I ponder it, the more puzzling it becomes. Right. Although the time frame seems to broadly match, no other details that we've learned seem to link the two events together. Amenoma Yuya lacks a key distinguishing feature of the attacker, namely that he is principally a practitioner of the blade testing techniques of Amenoma art, not those of the combat-oriented Ishin art.
Darn! We thought we could get two birds with one stone here, but at this rate, it's starting to look like a wild goose chase.
Let's keep going, since if we can solve the case, both Mr. Amenoma and Mrs. Nagato will be able to get some closure.
Okay, but where's...
Let's head out of the city and check out the warehouse. There's still a chance we may be able to find some shreds of evidence. Wait. I hear something ominous in the wind.
Oh! This must be another one of those sounds that... As sketchy as that whole thing seems, you did put it to good use when we were chasing down that vision thief at Beto's tournament.
Now I'm picking up a strong scent in addition to the sound.
But there's nothing here.
It's gone now, but it felt very much like that ancient presence in Inazuma. The remnants of the Tatarigami, indeed. But this unexpected spring of inauspicious energy may prove to be of benefit to our investment. We should remain vigilant and...
So it's an underground where?
The force is definitely coming from down below. The source of the Tatarigami energy has long since left this place, but the residue it left behind still hasn't. Judging from the concentration, I would have to conclude that the Tatarigami source resided here for
Mrs. Nagato said her husband used to hang around the warehouse by...
It could well be that he was already under the influence. From what I've been told, Tatarigami does not turn all upon whom it preys into violent monsters. But most will develop a stubborn streak upon being exposed to the Tatarigami's unfulfilled will. Their interests become fanatical obsessions. Mr. Nagato had an interest in collecting to begin with. The influence of Tatarigami could explain why he became an obsessive hoarder, amassing...
So what should we do now? Go down and take a look?
Step back. I'll open the door and take a look. If we don't open this door, we can move no closer to the truth. You needn't worry. Both of us have faced far greater dangers than this. Relatively speaking, the risk here is trivial.
What's down there?
Everything's buried in debris. I can't see anything. It looks like the fire caused a cave-in, reducing the entire warehouse to rubble.
That was too scary! Paimon was so sure that the warehouse boogeyman was about to jump out at us!
All we can do now is keep searching in the direction that the Tatarigami energy source left this place. 2 ordinary humans, entangled with the Tatarigami. I fear much misfortune has already... Yes, let's go. If not, quiet your mind and focus. From this point, the trail appears to split into 2. The main source of the Tatarigami energy continued on into the distance. Quite possibly.
Whoa! Look at all those hilly churls! They're acting really strangely!
Something seems to be drawing their attention. Let's take a closer look.
To ashes!
Disappear!
It's...
Ugh! Look at this red stuff!
By the looks of it, a letter written on a piece of torn clothing. The ink is bone dry. It must have... Well, let's take a look. According to this letter, a conflict arose because Amenoma Yuya wanted to seize a blade belonging to Mr. Nagato. Yuya started the fire that destroyed the warehouse and wounded Mr. Nagato in the fight. Mr. Nagato kept chase as long as he could, eventually stopping here to write this letter when his strength...
So,
He was not only mortally wounded, but also under the heavy influence of Tatarigami. Add to that the fact that its aura seems to have attracted a horde of monsters, and I'm afraid he may no longer be with us. Whatever traces there may have been of his fate beyond after this point, they've since been disturbed by the hilly churls. Yes, right now we need to uncover some more. If Ame no Mayuya is attacking other people indiscriminately, then the longer we take to find him, the more people risk meeting.
Right! So let's get moving!
I wouldn't be surprised if he, too, fell prey to the influence of the Tatar. For a practitioner of the martial arts, the easiest desire to inflame would be their pursuit of further power and skill. All the clues that at first seemed disparate and disconnected, it seems that now we know the thread that runs between them. I have a hypothesis that, if it's correct, not only explains the series of events leading to the two men's disappearance, but also zeroes in on the attacker's identity.
Wait! You figured it out? So...
I believe so. But it's something of an outlandish idea. On with the search. We must stay.
Why here? Is there anything special about this place?
I'm not sure. But on closer examination, I sense that the aura may have lingered here at several different points in time.
Show yourself! It's no use hiding anymore.
Kaedehara kazuha. It's you, at last.
Aha! So it is this. What's your problem, huh? What could you possibly have against Kazuha?
Indeed, there should be no enmity between us. If it is Ame no Mayuya that stands before us. But what if instead of facing Ame no Mayuya, we are in fact facing the blade in his hand?
Now that you mention it, it is giving off a strange light. Whoa, whoa! Surely you don't mean...
Tatarigami energy often lodges itself within physical objects, then works to subtly affect any living organisms in it. The blade has resided in Mr. Nagato's warehouse for many years, affecting his state of mind, and more recently using the sale as a means to affect, or rather as a means to occupy, Ame no Mayuya's body.
You're sharper than I thought. You've already deduced the truth of the matter. Many, many years ago, I was forged by a famed bladesmith of the Ishin tradition. I was his pride and joy. In me, he placed all his hopes and dreams. As a descendant of the Kaedehara clan, you should be able to guess our greatest regret.
I presume it has something to do with the Raiden Gokaden.
Indeed. At that point in time, he failed to live up to the Raiden Shogun's expectations. In the end, all he could do was to flee the nation by sea on a ship bound for Snezhnaya. He was a bladesmith of great renown, a master of his craft. There was nothing that he could not accomplish. All he needed was more time and a little faith. And sure enough, in the end, he achieved what he had set out to do. All of his life's work, his wisdom, his skill, it culminated in his creation of me. He not only bestowed upon me the greatest of strength, but also endowed me with a consciousness of my own. In her conceit, the Raiden Shogun lost not only the single most perfect blade in the entire world, but also an irreplaceable achievement in the art of blade forging.
So, swords can become conscious and control people?
The people of the time in which I was born never believed I had that kind of power. They saw me as a mere blade, a sharp and well-crafted one, but in all other respects an ordinary weapon. But that gave me the opportunity to take action. After the death of my creator, I decided to leave Snezhnaya and began my long quest to return to the distant land of Inazuma. Moving from one person to the next, I controlled the minds of countless hosts along the way, each bringing me one step closer to my ancestral home. I seek but one thing: to face the full force of the Raiden Shogun's blade and prove my power.
So, Amenoma, you tell me, what happens to those you've possessed when...
My hosts? Who cares what happens to them? They are but tools that serve my mission. When they got tired, or injured, or unusable, I hopped to the next one in line.
You're awful!
After I returned to Inazuma, I decided to bide my time in Nagato's warehouse until Amenoma Yuya handed himself over to me on a silver platter. At long last, I'm approaching my journey's destination. By Amenoma Yuya's body, I have found you. And by your hand, I shall defeat the Kaedehara Kazuha now. Submit to me!
Time to go.
You shall rewrite history!
Wind strike!
Rewrite history! Join me and sever that divine light! Submit to me!
Fallen leaves, adorn my night!
Do not stand in my way, or I will
Your bluff's fooling no one! You've lost!
Lost. I can never lose. It is this body that has reached its limit, nothing more. Even if you defeat me here, he is but a puppet that can be replaced. The end result is the same. And even if I were to lose my physical form, it is but a small setback. By any means necessary, and any medium available, I shall return and fulfill my destiny!
Your fighting style. It is indeed the forms of Ishin art. But from your movements, I sense only hatred and arrogance, as well as a thinly veiled mania and despair.
Really? You can tell all that just from his moves?
As I've mentioned before, the forms of Ishin art convey the user's thoughts and feelings. Since the blade is currently possessing Amenoma Yuya's body, its movements express the innermost thoughts of the blade. If you ask me, the mania is probably due to your desperate, single-minded ambition.
Are you trying to claim that I am helpless without you? On his deathbed, he passed to me all of Ishin. In that regard, why would I ever need your help?
Because all of that is in the past. I've been wondering why you've not caused more trouble in all the years that you've been in Inazuma. If you are indeed a cursed blade that can possess its owner. Now that I've seen inside your mind, everything finally makes sense. You weren't biding your time. You were trapped. After all the time that's passed, you have grown weak. To the point that you are now unable to acquire a new host without making physical contact.
Oh, that's right! Paimon remembers now! Mr. Nagato had a habit of never touching his collectibles. collectibles.
Only when Mr. Nagato witnessed his wife's distress and decided to sell his collectibles did you finally have an opportunity to reach out to Aminoma Yuya and make your escape.
And what of...
Well, that brings me to my second point. There's a despair in you that is so strong it threatens to overwhelm you. You were determined to fulfill your maker's ambition, whatever the cost. But this ambition is too grand and too heavy for you to bear. Each step you have taken has come at a great cost. I think you realized your limitations long ago. The more you clenched your teeth and pressed forward, the greater your fear of losing everything you had achieved grew, and the more you wished to run from the truth. But the way I see it, what began as an ambition has long since become a delusional fantasy.
What would you know about any of this? I'm just one step away from achieving...
You returned to Inazuma to prove the unparalleled brilliance of Ishin art. But to make this arduous journey, you committed countless atrocities and showed a blatant... Even if you were to sever that divine light, is this truly the outcome that your maker would have...
You...
Sure, you inherited the secrets of Ishin art. But even as you made your journey to honor this legacy, you treated the ones who wielded you as mere tools to do your... How could you possibly unleash the full potential of Ishin art when you act in perfect discordance with the principle of harmony between a blade and its bearer?
Silence, you blabbering fool! I must achieve my goal. I will concede that you are most perceptive.
And you should face reality.
Easy for you to say. Facing reality offers me nothing. I have no need of anything that would stand in my way. Not hesitation, not self-reflection, and certainly not your soul. It is pointless to argue further, descendant of the Kaedehara.
How stubbornly you stick to your wayward path. I do not believe for a second that you can challenge the almighty Shogun in your current state. So let us make a bet.
What? Surely you're not planning...
Very well. Then find yourself some enemies with whom you wish to cross blades. A taste of my power will... Once we have dealt with them, we shall proceed to Tenshukaku.
And as for your end of the bargain, if you lose, you must release Aminoma Yuya from your...
I accept.
Don't do this, Kazuha!
This is the only way to save Aminoma Yuya. If we don't do this, he'll forever be the Blade's puppet. The Cursed Blade's strength is currently very weak. The power of the Tatarigami lies in...
But even so...
Even if things take a turn for the worse, I still have you both here. We have a chance here to save an innocent victim.
Your disdain for me betrays your woeful ignorance. Now, take me in your hand.
Kazuha?
I'm okay. I felt a little dizzy at first, but only for a moment. It's all right. So far, this was as I expected. I will.
What should we do next? Have you...
We find some enemies. Although this blade has endured much turmoil, it probably hasn't experienced many real fights. If a blade built for Ishin art cannot enter a state of harmony between blade and bearer, it cannot unleash its true power. If he wants to avoid reality, then we need to fight until he has no choice but to face it.
Wait a minute! Paimon remembers hearing about something from the adventurers. Since the Takasukasa clan abandoned that secret base, it's been held by Ronin ever since.
All right. Please lead the way.
What about Aminoma Yuya?
The blade says he'll let Aminoma Yuya trail us silently. Although he hasn't regained his own consciousness yet, he is not in any immediate danger.
Are we sure this is a... Okay,
Leave everything on this journey to me.
Lucky day!
Wind Strider!
The fairy, let's get down to business. As one with wind and cloud!
How are you feeling? You okay?
I'm all right. The blade is performing largely as I expected. Having gone so long without proper use and maintenance, it's become very difficult to use. Though he's making every effort to persevere, I do not think he can last much longer.
Something else on your mind?
How strange. Rather than trying to control me, he is instead trying to match my fighting rhythm. Let's keep going.
Time to go. Let's get down to business. The fairy. Lucky day.
Clouds high. The birds call.
How fairy.
Whoa! Something's up with the blade!
I can sense that his strength is slowly fading away. The blade is becoming more and more difficult for me to wield. He cannot hold out much longer. If he keeps persisting, he will likely break apart at any moment.
But what would that do to...
I will be careful with it. He's still trying to achieve his goal.
Look out! Ambush!
Cheap tricks. Isn't over.
That hurt!
This.
Are you okay? It looked like you were really struggling the entire fight!
Yes. And it looks like he's reached his limit.
The sheen's grown a bit dimmer again.
Perhaps this time, we'll finally have a chance to see his true form.
True form? What are you talking? Is this the same blade as before? It looks like a piece of junk!
If you choose to continue in the state you're in, you wouldn't even be able to beat Samurai and Kairagi, much less the almighty Shogun. Maybe you did truly wield power to rival the Shogun's light when first forged, but it barely needs stating anymore. Your ambition is a flight of fancy. I've finally figured out why it was that you agreed to my bet. You wanted to reach a state of harmony with me. For perhaps then you would still be able to wield commendable power. But regrettably, we are nothing alike. I will never understand your obstinacy and cruelty, nor can I empathize with the one who made you. The only one who truly understood you had already passed away by the time you were born.
Huh? What's that supposed...
Here they are! Take them down!
Where do they keep coming from? Yup, we can help!
Don't worry. I'll use my own blade. It's just more of the same.
Let's get down to business.
Try my blade.
To the very Wind Strider.
You fought way better with your own sword.
You are a true Kaedehara in flesh and in spirit. Though we fought briefly together, you have seen me for who I really am. No one knew anything of my story throughout my travels, nor did I tell it to anyone. You are the first person to know the truth. I thought that if I could achieve Ishin harmony with you, perhaps there would still be a ray of hope.
But in this too, you have failed.
Indeed. No matter how hard I tried, I could not attain that perfect harmony that your personal blade does with you. Too much time has passed. My physical state is poor, and without proper maintenance, I can only disguise my true appearance behind an outer sheen. Yours is the blade that took on the Muso no Hitotachi. And what a magnificent blade it is.
Actually, this is just a generic blade that I picked up during my travels in Liyue. Forging and maintenance are both important for a blade, but they are not everything. This blade has traveled the land with me for many years, and we have formed a close bond during that time. Plus, in the moment that I most needed it, I received aid from another power. Skill, blade, determination, and desire. All these must be aligned in the practice of Ishin art. There is something else I must tell you. Though your maker may not have been aware, your ability to possess your own consciousness derived from the power of the Tatarigami. Tatarigami is a malevolence from the ancient past. It is the source of your mania and savagery. Though you tried to cooperate with me while I was wielding you, the part of you driven by Tatarigami was constantly trying to seize control of my body.
I sensed it, but I couldn't change it. It is an integral part of my consciousness.
I resisted its temptations because I wanted to save Amenoma Yuya. But I do not know whether you yourself have any intention of trying. I feel a great sense of regret for you. Since you embarked on a journey bound for a destination, the moment you embarked on this journey, you lost the only person who could have ever unleashed your true potential. You have known this for a long time. It is the true source of your despair.
He gave me everything. My life, my form, my consciousness, and purpose. How could I possibly deny him his wish? I said to him, how could I go back on my word?
Aww.
I believe our bet is now settled.
Where are you going, Kazuha?
He now has neither the ability nor the motivation to cause further harm. When I touched the hilt for the first time, it's as if I was transported to a strange dimension. It was somewhere I've never been. A bladesmith lay quietly on the bed. His a newly forged blade lay by his side.
Wow.
Indeed. While in exile in Snezhnaya, the bladesmith eventually learned the truth behind everything that had happened. The Ishin art had been dealt a devastating blow by the desertion of its best smith. He spent the rest of his life in the forge, not to vent his frustration and hatred, but to atone. He felt intense regret at being tricked by the Fatui, but he could never again return to his homeland. His sole wish was to one day return his single, proudest creation back to the land of his. So he instructed this sentient blade to find a way back to Inazuma, no matter how long or how hard the journey. All he wanted to show was that they once shone brilliantly as blade and smith. That they...
So that's the truth. But after that, the blacksmith's intentions were worked by the Tatarigami, slowly turning his
Right. I believe the bladesmith might never... This blade has committed Yes. It is too... Time would not wait or stop because of his determination. While the world moved on, his ambition remained stubbornly stuck at that. He seems to have calmed down, though.
When I once told him that I would pay any price, but darkness and slaughter numb the mind. Not only did I fail to fulfill his ambition.
You are finally seeing reality clearly.
Since we agreed to the terms of the bet, I will honor the agreement, but I still cannot bring myself to forsake his ambition. So, may I ask you to help me fulfill...
Hey! Now you're adding yours into the mix!
It has to be done in this order. At least hear what I have to say. And if my physical form, as well as the knowledge I possess, should still be of some value to you.
His attitude... What do you think, Kazuha?
Let's hear it.
Thank you all. When I was first forged, my maker was already terminally ill. He told me that he had wanted me to have the grandest opening battle. Alas, after that, he never rose from his sickbed again. Nor have I ever had the chance to prove myself in battle since. My fights were devoid of any noble meaning. They were merely the next step in my never-ending journey. The next in a long line of transgressions. You are a fine warrior. I would like to request your hand in battle and experience a true duel between samurai.
Oh? And...
I will release Ame no Mayuya and restore his consciousness. Perhaps after that, you can convince... You must have plenty of reasons to...
Understood.
I see. He used... I utterly despise him and his actions. If a duel can help to set this state of I do not wish to be a mere victim.
There's no need to worry. We'll vouch for your innocence.
Thanks for your help.
All right, then let's move on. More Ronin could appear at any moment. In any case, for a final duel,
This reminds Paimon a bit of the Crux Clash. Yep, we still can't let our guard still. Are you ready?
ready? Okay. Successor of Ishin,
Successor of Amenoma art.
honored to crossblade.
It is my honor.
Time to go. Wind strike. Fallen leaves, adorn my night!
Thank you for the... Although he appears battered and broken, in his sense of savage...
You also fought well. I'm sure he relished the experience. There are a few things that I shall leave him to tell you.
I must apologize to you for all that has transpired.
You need not seek my forgiveness. Nor do I... It is too late for all of that.
I do not wish for forgiveness. I only hope that you will see my transgressions as mine alone, and not let them stain the legacy of Ishin art. I strayed far from the straight and narrow path, but the Ishin art still has a worthy successor. I beseech you, please understand this.
Yes. I too trust Mr. Kaedehara to do...
Thank you, successor of Amenoma.
This blade has also told me that he has another wish. He would like to visit the Amenoma Smith. Maybe we can go back there together.
What does he want to go there for?
I am not sure, but I think that all this is about to...
I am sorry to have troubled you. It's all thanks...
A prized Ishin blade. Considering that... But I have some good news as well. Ryuji, from the Bonton Sango Detective Agency, tells me that they've found the missing Mr...
Really? Is he okay?
Yes. Badly wounded, but he will live. And now that Yuya is back, it seems like the final ending to this story is a happy one after all.
I think I know what you want to do.
What's wrong, Kazuha? Is the blade whispering in your ear again?
Yes. He said he wants to take control of me for a brief moment.
What? No way!
He tells me that he's thought of another way to fulfill his maker's wish. I have decided...
But... he... Guess there's nothing we can say to change your mind, huh?
Thank you. I will explain my reasons later. Okay. I am ready. Let it...
My power is almost spent. Without him, my eventual demise is inevitable. But if I abandon the future to give everything I have in this moment, my physical form can be forged anew.
Everything? You mean...
Yes. The cost is my entire consciousness. You were right. There's nothing that I can accomplish now. But there's still a chance for Ishin art. Once remade, I will be a valuable resource for your studies. Ishin lives on, and its finest hour is yet to come. Even if I am not the one to prove its might to the Shogun, as long as it is an Ishin blade, crafted by Kaedehara hands, it will still fulfill his final wish. Thank you, son of the Kaedehara clan. Over the years, my real name has been forgotten by all. I'm ashamed to utter it, yet it remains strong in my mind. Kagotsurube Ishin. This name is now yours to keep.
Rest in peace.
So, that's why he said it had to be done in that order. His consciousness will disappear forever after fulfilling the bladesmith's wish.
Kagotsurube Ishin. It was the first time I ever heard his name. It seems like deep down he disapproved of his own actions, and thus chose to bury this name deep within his... Only in the final moments, before his consciousness faded, was he willing to entrust it to another.
Seems like he really, really
The same fervent ambition that gave him the motivation to keep going forward also fueled the stubborn determination that blinded him to the path ahead. Speaking for myself, I'd rather see him recognize and atone for his mistakes than see him punished for them. I understand. Perhaps this is a flaw in my personality. I've always been captivated by grand aspirations. Hearing his wish to rival the divine light touched something inside of me, just as the sight of those who fought to repeal the Vision Hunt decree did. Your quest to face the gods and trace your sibling inspires me in the same way. After everything I've seen, perhaps these pursuits fascinate me a little more than...
Oh, Kazuha?
I will continue to support you from this point on.
Wait! Shouldn't we also go update
Oh, you're right. And it's also time to give him a response.
The Tenryou Commission has already attended to the danger at the warehouse. The investigation into Amanoma Yuya should conclude soon. I do not...
Wow, you sure kept your...
Then we needn't recount all the details again. Now, as to your earlier offer, I wish to give you my answer. Please take a look at this.
What's this?
Kagotsurube Ishin, a weapon crafted using a long-lost blade forging art of the Kaedehara clan. By means of a series of fortuitous events, I was able to recover and restore him. I also promised him that I will continue to study and pass on the secrets of Ishin art. And so, it looks like I will likely continue with my journey across...
I see. I understand.
The Kaedehara clan has always been a family of bladesmiths, so it is only proper for me to continue on this path. Were I to accept your goodwill,